Amazing. So like I said, Michelle, oh, look at those cakes. Thanks, guys. Yep, 42 years young now, which is a really fun place to be. I'm really stepping into it, really enjoying it. Amazing. So good. Okay. So my name is Michelle Dittmer. I run the Canadian Gap Year Association, and this is your session. I really see it that way. So please don't hesitate to ask questions. I want you to be able to walk away from the session today feeling comfortable with the information, feeling like you've got the answers to the questions so that you can move forward into whatever that next step is. That's my goal here today, but in order for that to happen, I need you guys to ask the questions. I can't read your minds. I'm good at a lot of things. That is not one of them. So please put them in the comment section and I will answer them as we go. You don't need to hold them till the end. I would rather this be a little bit more of a dialogue because we're all human beings. So if you do have questions right now and you want to pop them in the chat, by all means, go ahead. Or I will just answer them as they come up for you. So that's where we're starting from today. Once again, welcome everyone. It's going to be a really fun session. As a little bit of housekeeping, how is today going to work? You're going to be sticking with me for the first hour. We're going to be talking about kind of Gap Years 101. We're going to be talking about working internationally, if that's on your radar. How do you go about doing that? What does that look like? And then at 4 o'clock or whatever that looks like, 50 minutes from now for you in your time zone, we are going to be inviting some different programs to come in and share a little bit about their program and opportunities that are out there because if don't know what we don't know. And so I've invited some of them to come. By all means, it's not an extensive list or extensive group of people that you could participate in their programs, but it is a good start and just to get your mind opened a little bit to the potential of things that are out there. So we'll be doing that at 4 o'clock Eastern. And then we will, after about half an hour of that, what we're going to do is we're actually going to open up into breakout rooms. So you can go and have a conversation with any of the representatives from any of the organizations. So if you want to learn more about the Navy or you want to learn more about where there be dragons, there'll be somebody there in those breakout rooms to answer all of your questions. So just stick around with us. I know 2 hours is kind of a long time, but this is your future. And I want you to think about how many hours you spent going to university presentations at your school, college presentations, figuring out scholarships, all of that stuff. This is just a small drop in the bucket for the gap year research that you are going to be embarking on. So thank you so much for being here. Let's just jump in. Okay, we already did this. I'm already ahead of myself. Look at that. This is because I talk too much sometime. Would love to know in the comments here, why do you want to take a gap year? Or why does your young person, or why do you want your young person to take a gap year? What is really kind of the impetus behind this? And I think this is a great question because everybody takes a gap year for a different reason. And there is no wrong reason for taking a gap year. Some people take a gap year because they're burnt out. Just like I've had enough of this. I need something different for a little while. I need a chance to recharge my battery. And to that note, I'm going to leave a little Easter egg here for you. I am currently updating the website for our adult gap year programs. So if you are a parent here thinking of a mini retirement, we're going to have tons of resources for you for that. So some people are burnt out. They need a change of pace for a little bit. Some folks don't know what they want to do next. So they're going to take a pause and see what else is out there. Maybe explore different career paths or different educational pathways. Some people are looking for adventure. There's no time like the present to get out there and to see the world and to discover more than your hometown. Figure out who you are. How do you fit into this bigger world? How do you make sense of what's happening in this world right now? Who knows? So it's a really great time to be able to do that as well. So yeah, I see a chance to breathe, think, and explore. Ooh, I like that. Travel and work. Definitely. I didn't mention work. We know that the cost of higher education, the cost of living is going up and up and up. So getting yourself into a financial position where you are better able to handle the next step, whatever that might look like for you. Great, great option. Thanks for sharing. Grow and expand. I love that. Mental health, definitely. Oh my goodness. And looking at next steps. Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Those are all brilliant ideas and really solid reasons for taking an intentional pause. And I think that's really something that I really want to hammer home here is that it's an intentional pause. You can take a year off, and that can happen by accident, but a gap year is more intentional than that. So really, I think that this is
Eindhoud.
where we're at now is having an intentional pause to understand interests and abilities. Amazing. Ability for independent living. Yes, 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 yes. For those of you out there who are neurodivergent or have a neurodivergent young person, you are not alone. We have so many neurodivergent folks coming to join us in our GPS program, which is really exciting. And just really a great time to be able to push pause, to get some skills, to level up on some skills, to get everything in place to be able to support you in those next stage. So I love all of these things. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. All right, what's up next? Okay, so why should you trust us? Why am I here? Why should you even pay attention to what I'm saying today? Is always a good question you should ask yourself before you jump in with both feet to anything and before you believe what you hear. So I'll give you a little bit of background. The Canadian Gap Year Association, we're a national nonprofit. So whether you take a gap year or not, I do not make more or less money. The organization doesn't make more or less money. Actually, if you're not ready to take a gap year and you take one, it's actually bad for us because then you tell stories about how awful it was. So we are very transparent, very honest about whether we think a gap year would be a good fit for you or not. So that's our stance. We are here to provide information, connect you with resources, answer questions, and do some general advocacy for this pathway because we know there's not enough information out there in schools. And so when you're navigating something that's new, maybe you never took a gap year, maybe this is something that's been sprung on you as a parent, or maybe you're a young person just being like, oh, this is very overwhelming. We want to be your partner alongside of you for that and be there as a resource no matter what stage you're at. Whether you're answering the existential question of to gap or not to gap, whether you've decided that you are going to take a gap year, but you don't know what you're going to do during that time, or if you are after your gap year or halfway through your gap year and you want a little bit of guidance on how to make that transition back into whatever else you're doing, that's what we're here for. And we do this in so many ways. We do it through these events. So things like this, we've got a travel workshop coming up in March. So if you are considering traveling, it is a three-part series. I'm just going to put the the link in the chat there. It's a three-part series. The first one's on kind of your travel 101. How do you pick where you're going to go? What does an itinerary look like? How do you book flights? What are types of different accommodations? Should you travel on your own? Should you travel with a group? The second one is all about budgeting. How are you going to afford said trip? And the third one is all about safety. How are you going to take care of yourself? And that's coming up in the first week of March. So you can check that out if you are interested. We've got a fantastic YouTube channel. All of the recordings from our events get posted there. So if you missed anything or you're looking for something, there's probably something on either our YouTube channel or our podcast, which is very unoriginally named the Gap Year Podcast. So if you're on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, whatever, if you just looked up the Gap Year Podcast, you'd see this lovely face. So when you're out walking the dog or driving to work or walking to school, You can pop that in your earbuds and listen to a bazillion different topics, tons of guests. Basically, if you have a question, there's probably the answer on the podcast already. We got tons of downloads on our website. We got our Gap Year Planner and our Gap Year GPS, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So that's who we are. That's what we do. And basically, we're here to support you. Again, if you have any questions, drop it in the chat. This is your time. So why am I here? I started out my career as a high school biology chemistry teacher. And what I was noticing with my students is that they were becoming just really, really good box checkers. Just saying, yep, okay, what's my grade? Moving on. And really looking for opportunities to bring experiential learning into young people's lives because that's how we grow, that's how we learn. When I look back at my life, I can barely remember the textbooks that I had, whether that's in high school or post-secondary, but I do remember those volunteer opportunities. I do remember those field trips. I do remember the trips I took with my family. And so really here, I'm very passionate about the opportunity to get out there and try things and see things on a different level. So I am very, very highly invested in this and I believe in it so strongly. And I've been doing gap year advising for almost 20 years now. Because I'm 42, because I'm so young. So I've been doing it for a really, really long time. And I can tell you from experience, I've worked with thousands of young people and looking forward, it can feel very daunting, but looking backwards, no contest. Great, great opportunity. So let's get all on the same page here. I know we're 20 minutes in. You're like, I don't even know what a gap year is. Great. All right. So you'll see here it's a purposeful step away from your normal routine. And you're going to be doing something to grow in some way, whether that's personal or educational or professionally. You're really looking to expand somehow. And really that's going to happen by doing. So we really want you to put a plan into place about what are the things that you are going to do during this time in order for you to experience that growth. Sitting on the couch, playing video games for an entire year is not going to afford you that growth. So what is that plan? What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? What are you going to be involved in? Because that will help you to discover more about yourself and where you want to go in your next step in life. So it helps higher education become higher education, not just a default grade 13, 14, 15, 16, because that's what everybody does. So we're all on the same page now. That's what a gap year is. So to gap or not to gap, that is the question. So some of you had mentioned that you're already committed to it. Some of you are exploring it as an option. And this is where a lot of people are, and that's totally, totally, totally okay. Because we have on one side, we have this idea of going on to higher ed. And it's very, very familiar to us. We know there's going to be professors and teachers and classes and tests and exams and essays, and that's very comfortable for us because we've been doing that for quite some time. But sometimes when we look at the gap year pathway, we can feel like this little dog here because there is no direct route. There's nobody. In very few cases, there's somebody that comes in and says, here, fill out this form and we will take you on your gap year like they do for college or university. So there's a lot more decision making to go around that. And so let's answer some of those questions and help you to feel comfortable. So you're not this dog. Maybe you are going to outer space, but at least you're going to be tethered and know what is happening. So we don't just need to move on to university or college because everybody's doing it. We have the opportunity here to be very, very intentional about it. So we've got a couple voices in our heads sometimes. So we've got these naysayers saying that a gap year is going to be a waste of time, that you're going to be behind all of your peers, that you're going to waste your time. Give me a thumbs up if you have heard some of this message from someone, whether that could be a grandparent or a friend or maybe a teacher. Sometimes we hear those people saying, nah, not so great. We got That's some thumbs up there. Thanks. Because I think that's very true. Those messages are out there, but let me tell you that they are very, very false. That is not true whatsoever. There are lots and lots of things that happen. So when we actually look at the stats, if we look at the hard data, when people compared to people who didn't take a gap year, we actually find that they have higher GPAs. They're going to graduate their undergraduate degree in fewer years, and they're going to be more likely to get a job after they graduate. So all of this to say this sounds almost unbelievable. Like, why isn't everybody doing this then? Because it's scary, because it's different. And I really call it a leapfrog move. So by intentionally pausing now, you're going to be able to accelerate and jump back in, if not ahead of your peers, and move yourself forward. Now, why do you have a higher GPA? Why are you graduating in fewer years? Why are you more employable? Because during your gap time, you have the opportunity to make a better decision about what you're going to do next. So often in grade 12, people are rushed, figuring things out, trying to really kind of do all the things. They need to get ready for prom. They need to get the grades to get into school. They need to get their exams done. They need to apply to university. And it just kind of snowballs and you just kind of fall into some sort of routine and making decisions that might not be your own. But when you take that gap time and you actually sit with it a little bit without all of that other noise, when you get some experience in those fields, like I can't tell you how many people are like, I want to be an engineer. I'm like, great. What does an engineer do? And they don't know. Would do you think you're gonna like it? I don't know. Do you like AutoCAD? What's AutoCAD? Okay, let's rewind here. So getting that experience, talking to people and making a better decision for yourself is going to put you in a different mindset moving forward. And that will allow you to pick a better program, pick a better school, pick a better fit that will allow you to excel. You're going to be also a year more mature, to be quite frank. Our brains aren't fully developed until about 22, 23 years old. So getting another year of maturation under your belt, not a bad idea. And it will set you up for success moving forward. So for all those people that say it's going to be a waste of time, myth debunked. There you go. Social media also tells us a fancy story about gap years. So social media is often telling us that it is full of all of these exotic, sexy trips that you do. You're going to spend a year traveling around the world, really, really living it up. And well, yes, that is can be part of what you could do on your gap year. It doesn't have to. If we go back to the definition, I said, you'll notice it doesn't say that you have to travel. Travel is a great way to learn about yourself, to see the world, to take on new challenges, and to have some really exciting stories and adventures to tell. So yes, 100%. But it does not have to be the entire time of your trip. You don't even have to travel outside of the country. You don't have to travel at all. That is just a small piece, but it's the sexy part that everybody wants to post. And we know social media is only a fraction of what's going on. Believe me, there's a lot of checking people at grocery stores. There's a lot of pushing shopping carts. There's a lot of retail jobs that happen during your gap year. They just don't get publicized because it's not so exciting. There's lots of therapy sessions. There's lots of baking, like all of these things that happen. They're all there as well. So, but let's actually say, okay, so there's travel, but if that's not everything, Michelle, what in the world am I going to be doing? So this would not be a very good session if I did not at least give you some ideas. And like I said, coming up at 4 o'clock, we are going to have a bunch of gap year programs join us, and they're going to share a little bit about the support that they provide for gappers and the specific programs you can get involved in if you are interested. So beyond gap year programs, though, let's talk about some ideas. When you are building out your gap year, if you have been to any of my sessions before, you're going to roll your eyes because Michelle always starts talking about goals. You have to set your goals for your year. What do you want to get out of it? How do you want to be different at the end of it? And that is going to be your North Star for moving forward. So always, 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 when planning a gap year, start with the why. Why am I taking a gap year? What do I want to get out of it? and then move to the what am I going to do? Now, when you're building out your gap year plan, you want to have multiple categories of things that are going to happen during your gap time, because we're going to have these big giant things that are going to take up lots of our time, lots of our energy. All of our camera roll is going to be filled with these things. So those are the big ones. We're also going to have some things that we're going to be working on maybe internally, or some goals that we have for ourselves. We're going to also have some little tiny things. You've probably heard that analogy where you have a jar and you put in the big stones first, and then you put in the pebbles because they can go in between.
Going for a walk, Josh.
So all of that is true for your gap year as well. We want to just like make sure that we're going to put those big things, but also have the little things ready to go. So when you end up having a free weekend, or what are you going to do in the evenings when you're not working, all of these things will factor in. So let me share some of these ideas with you. Working, traveling, and volunteering. These are kind of the in the box thinking. This is what everybody assumes they're going to be doing on their gap year. And yes, 95% of people do all of this stuff. So getting a job, volunteering, and traveling, big ticket items. I will say, think about these three things in three different geographies. Think about working, traveling, and volunteering locally, domestically, and internationally. So let's take the example of working at a local Tim Hortons. So you have three options here. So you can stay in your childhood bedroom, and you can get a job at the Tim Hortons down the street. Amazing. You're going to get some cash. You're going to build your resume a bit, maybe network a little bit, get some free donuts. Life is good. So that's kind of your domestic, or your local option for working at Tim Hortons. But if you are looking to expand a little bit, maybe you've already worked at Tim Hortons at home, maybe you're looking to build some independence. Perhaps you're going to maybe move in with grandma who lives in Ottawa, and you're going to live with grandma, and you're going to get a job at the Starbucks or the Tim Hortons in Ottawa. So yes, you're still going to be serving coffee. Yes, you're still going to be making money, but you're going to have a new experience. You're going to have to learn a new transit system. Maybe you're going to pick up some French while you're there. Maybe you got to make some friends. It's harder to make friends when you're not a student. So all of these things, again, you will be able to get some additional experience, but you still have a little bit of a safety net. Same country, your healthcare is taken care of. You can still use your same bank account. You can get home really quickly if you need to. So lots of safety pieces in place there, but again, building a little bit on that local experience. Now, you can also do this internationally. So if you did want to work abroad, and I'm going to talk about that more in about 15 minutes in a little more detail. But if you did want to work abroad, there you go. You could get a job serving cafe on the Champs-Élysées in Paris. So again, you're still barista, you're still serving coffee, but now you've got a new culture. You're farther away from home. You need to set up a new bank account. You need to find somewhere to live. So depending on where you're at and what you want to get out of it, think about all of these things in three different geographies: local, domestic, and then international, because you can really change the vibe of your year by playing with those a little bit, or creating a combination of what that might look like. The next big idea, we got lots of people starting businesses. So if entrepreneurship is your thing, there are so many grants and hackathons and opportunities, incubators for young people who want to start a business, and your gap year is a great time to do that. Whether that is shoveling snow, or lawn care, or selling artwork that you make, starting a photography business, start a drop shipping company that's going to be passive income for you while you're at school, building websites, whatever those things are that you want to explore. Hey, if you want to work on becoming a YouTuber and start to earn some cash from your content that you're creating, great. This is a great time to try it out. You've got that opportunity to step into the entrepreneurship space. So if that's your thing, great time to do that. Some people also have passion projects. And Michelle, what's a passion project? Well, this is something that might take an extended period of time that you might not have time to do if you were a full-time student. So perhaps this could be, maybe you know you're going to be staying at home for post-secondary school. So maybe you have an unfinished basement or a partially finished basement, and you're going to work on finishing up. So it's a suite that you can live in while you're going to school. What a great opportunity. You're going to learn about the trades. You're going to learn about working with contractors. You're going to be learning about permits. You're going to be learning about budgeting. You're going to be learning about interior design. You're going to be learning about how many electrical sockets you should have so you can plug in your computer and your phone and all the things. What a great experience to have. Maybe you are going to buy a beat up old car and you are going to get it roadworthy, get it licensed, and get it on the road and take it on a road trip. Again, big, huge project. But again, those transferable skills. Not only are you going to learn the mechanics of a car, but you're going to learn about how to get it licensed and roadworthy. If it breaks down on the road, you're going to figure it out because you already put the thing together in the first place. Just really, really great projects like that. We also have folks who are very into social justice, environmental justice, arts advocacy, all of those things. So if there is a cause near and dear to your heart, this is a great time to figure out how you're going to play in that space. We had lots of people start nonprofits during their gap time, lots of people volunteering heavily. I know we've got quite a bit of politics happening around. So if you are passionate about a particular issue, you've got time to research what all the parties are saying about it. Perhaps you want to volunteer, become a member of any of the political parties that are out there. Lots of opportunities to get involved with something that you're really, really passionate about on your gap time. Personal things. Oh my gosh, I've been talking a lot. And we're only on the second bullet point here, the second category. Need a sip of water. Okay. Again, questions, pop them in the chat. Personal things like getting your driver's license or figuring out what you want your career to be, taking care of your mental health, getting a gym membership, working with a personal trainer, working with a therapist or a counselor. All of these things are really, really great that are going to help you as a person evolve and change and grow and get the resources that you need in order to figure out what those next steps look like and how you can be healthy and happy moving forward. So what are those personal things? We also have like the little tiny things, like I said, the little pebbles that are going to go around those bigger stones in our jar. What books do you want to read? What documentaries do you want to watch? Are there any courses that you want to take? There are so many free courses out there on Coursera or any of the MOOCs, any of the online free content. So much out there. Do you want to learn how to write short stories or poetry? Do you want to learn how to make Nona's lasagna? Do you want to learn how to play a musical instrument? Like all of these things can be really, really great opportunities for you to do during your gap year. You also have the opportunity to join different clubs or sports teams or communities that you might want to be a part of, whether that's joining a choir or joining a basketball team or a hockey team or a team of volunteers that is supporting a festival in your town. Whatever that might look like. What are those clubs that you can be a part of? My girlfriend lived in Toronto, and across from her there was a little church, and every Wednesday they had a meetup for people to bring their ukuleles and play Beatles songs. So very, very niche. So whatever you're interested in, there is something out there that you could get involved with in your gap year. So what are those things, those smaller things? I mentioned some of these as smaller things, but these are things that could happen over the course of your gap year. So whether you want to learn a new instrument or a new language, maybe you're going to pick up coding. Maybe you're going to learn how to do your own laundry or cook your own food, or maybe you're going to test out a new cinnamon bun recipe every week. Whatever it is, lots and lots of opportunities to learn something new. So don't let that pass you by. So much going on there. Now, I'm going to well, I guess I can do it now. Let's talk about working abroad. Oops, let me go back here. I am going to, oh, I see your question, Jonathan. Does CanGap have an inventory of entrepreneurial grants targeted at youth? So we don't have a database of that. We do have a couple of organizations that our previous Gappers have tapped into. There's also new ones coming up all the time, and a lot of old ones closing down. So it's really a moving target. So the best thing that somebody could do was actually to book a call with us. And what we would do is I would work with them and we would do kind of a Google hunt together. Some things are provincially restricted or locally restricted, or if it's for tech or if it's for a social enterprise, there are different things that we could look up together. I'm just going to put in here cangap.ca/gap chat. That's how people can book a free 30-minute call with me. So whether you saw something in that list you wanted more clarification on, or there's something in particular you're looking for, by all means, you can book that call with me and we can have a conversation and get you the specific answers that are going to help you in that situation. So no, but we can help you anyways, is the short answer to that question. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Amazing. Okay, let's talk about working abroad. And I'm going to tell you my story actually of working abroad. So after I graduated from Teachers College, I did my all of my undergrad, and then I went to Teachers College, and then I didn't want to just get a job at home. I wanted to go and see the world. And I didn't have enough money because I had just paid for all of this schooling. So I needed something to be able to sustain me while I was traveling. And so I came across something called the Youth Mobility Visa, which is a very, very long, complicated term for basically a visa to work in another country that will allow you to both work and travel at the same time. So youth mobility visa is one term for it. The working holiday visa is another term for it. The working travel visa is another term for it. So lots of different things. Now, these visas are fantastic, and they're fantastic for a couple of reasons. They are faster to get than a regular visa to work in another country. They are cheaper to get. They've reduced almost all the fees in order to process these visas. So they're faster, they're cheaper, and you don't need a sponsor to get them. So often if you're looking for a working visa, you'll need some sort of employer already set up that's going to sponsor you in the country. And so it can get very, very complicated. If you lose your job, you kind of get kicked out. So these youth mobility visas are designed for young people who want to just get out there and try things. So it allows you to get a job in the country when you land. So you don't need a job before you go. You can switch jobs. You can spend some time unemployed while you're in the countries. Lots of different freedoms that come with this, which make it really, really helpful for somebody who wants to go and perhaps work in a coffee shop or work in a hostel or work in a pub, or work at harvesting or working festivals, things like that. Very, very easy to do it. I used it to be a teacher. So you can use it for like larger jobs as well. But it is good for 2 years. So really, really handy for you to know this. It's good for anybody between the ages of 18 and 35, usually. Each country might be a little bit different, but 18 to 35 is what it's good for. It's good for 2 years. And it is just such a great way to be able to have a cultural immersion at the same time as covering all your costs because you're making money while you're working, but you're also living in another country. So whether this feels right for you now during your gap time, or this is something you might want to do in the future, it is such a beautiful thing to be able to do. Now, I'm going to show you their website because I think some people get a little bit confused. So let's jump in here. So it is canada.ca/IEC, and I will put this in the chat as well. So we all have it here if you are interested. Ooh, hold on, it's not letting me. Canada.ca/IEC. There we go. And so once we go to canada.ca/IEC, here we go. We see all sorts of great things. So either people coming to Canada. So if you think about the experience out in Banff, where everybody's from Australia or England or New Zealand, they are using the foreign youth side of this. But we are going to look at the Canadian youth side over here. So over 35 countries and territories and up to 2 years. So this is the one I'm going to walk you through right now. So work and travel abroad. Here we go. Now, let's see. Where do you want to go? Great question. So you'll see this drop down here, and it will walk you through. So lots of really popular places in here. Australia is a big one. Costa Rica is a big one. A lot of the English speaking ones. But if you do have a second language, amazing. Jump on that. Go do it. Croatia, Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France. So many different places that you could go. Japan, lots of people are interested in teaching English while they are there. New Zealand, also very popular. Poland, popular. Sweden, Switzerland, and the UK. So if you are looking for English speaking, you've got kind of the UK, Australia, New Zealand are kind of your top picks there. Let's just do the UK for fun. So what you can do then is click find out how to apply. There you go. So what it will do is it will give you the high information here. So you need to be a Canadian citizen, you need to be 18 to 35 years old, and you have to have a Canadian passport. Great. And then how long can I stay and work? It will show you. So up to 24 months. Great. Perfect. Love it. It will give you information about the country. It'll tell you how to plan the trip. And then you can click on apply to the United Kingdom's website. So and that will take you to another page altogether. Except additional cookies. And this is where you would actually fill out the application. So our government doesn't fill out the paperwork. It's the government of the country that you are going to that you are filling out that information for. Now, we always get questions. Does International Experience Canada help you to get a job? The answer is no. The federal government sets up these reciprocal agreements with these countries to make these visas available to you. That being said, if you do need support, if you feel uneasy about just kind of putting a backpack on and heading somewhere and trying to find a job, there are organizations out there that can help you with this. And that's these recognized organizations, or ROs. You're going to hear from some of them in about 15 minutes. Recognized organizations, here we go. There we go. So these organizations listed and linked here, they are the ones that will help you with the visa process. They are the ones that are going to help, when you land on the ground, make sure you have accommodations for the first 3 nights. They're going to show you where the job boards are. They're going to make sure you have a SIM card for your phone so that it actually works when you land. So it's a little bit of like reassurance, a little bit of support, that there's going to be somebody there to kind of catch you when you land and help you get ready for the whole adventure. That being said, those organizations do have a fee associated with them. So can you do it on your own for free? 100% yes. Is it hard? Not really. But if you do want that additional support, if you want somebody on the ground there to be able to help you out, if you need support with job searching, all of that stuff, the ROs are a really, really great place for you to find that information. So super, super, super helpful for folks who are interested in working abroad. And like I said, just if it's not for you right now, tuck it into your back pocket because you have many, many years before you are 35 years old. And some people do multiple of these travel working holiday visas. It's just such a great way to be able to spend some of your gap time or your summers afterwards or whatnot. So many things. Okay, let's talk about, we talked about kind of what the naysayers say, what social media says. What is society as a whole sometimes saying? And some of you gave me a thumbs up here, that you won't go back to school, that universities won't let you in, that you're going to get lazy, that everybody's going to school right after high school. Uh, um, Not true. Let's talk about how it does impact your post-secondary studies. If you do want to go into university or college after, or if you want to go to grad school, what does a gap year look like? Is it just a blank space and people frown on it? No. There are so many really great things that can happen during your gap year. So in most cases, most programs, it's just a numbers game. Your grade 12 marks are going to count to get in or not. If you make the cutoff, if you are above the average, great, you get in. Doesn't matter if you're grade 12 this year, or your grade 12 grades from this year are going to apply to next year. Really, most of the time it's a numbers game. When there is a supplemental application, your gap year can actually strengthen your application because you're going to have a whole year's worth of experience that you can add to that somebody who's coming straight from high school cannot put onto their resume or onto their application. So it can actually be really helpful for you if you're trying to get into one of those programs. That being said, there are things that you can do in your grade 12 year in order to ensure you have a spot in the following years. It's called applying for a deferral. So this is something we're going to talk about, the ins and outs of it. What does that look like? What is it? Um, so if we actually look at the number, not everybody is going directly from high school into post-secondary. So the lowest stat I've seen is 20% of people not going directly into post-secondary. So they're taking time off. And lots and lots and lots of people during the pandemic and post-pandemic, the numbers have just been going up and up and up. Upwards of 33% of people taking time off before going into post-secondary. So, and also an interesting fact is people who applied to university but then declined going, 31% of them just took a year off and then they went back the following year. So it is very common for people to take that gap time no matter when it is. So for those of you who want that security blanket or want to just know that you're going to school the following year, great. You can apply and defer your acceptance. And what that means is you're asking the school to hold your spot for one more year. So you're saying, great, I want to get in. I want to come to your school. I'm so excited to come to your school, but I'm not ready for September 2025. Can I come September 2026? So you're asking for a deferral of your acceptance. Now, you probably have heard of these guys here. These folks actually, when they mail you out your acceptance letter, it comes with a little note saying, you might want to consider taking a year off before you come. Because even at the top school, they know these people have busted their butts to get the grades to get into Harvard. They're probably burnt out and they probably need some time before they're ready to go hard again to get the same type of grades while at university. So they're actually very much encouraging that you take a gap year. So that's kind of the top tier. But what's happening within Canada? This is what I get a lot of questions about. Now, it varies university to university, program to program sometimes, so you have to do your research. And all you got to do is jump into Google, type in the name of the institution, and then deferral policy, and it's usually the first or second link that comes up. Or you can always call the schools. They're happy to answer that. But let's look at some of our kind of Ivy League schools here. So let's look at UBC. I love showing UBC because the very first bullet point there, you're planning to take a gap year. So you can defer your admission to UBC if you are planning to take a gap year. So this is kind of the most liberal of all of the universities, but I'll also show you here, this is University of Ottawa. Except under exceptional circumstances, it is normally not possible to defer an offer of admission. Okay, so we've kind of got both ends of the spectrum here. I'm trying to present this pretty universally and unbiased. We have folks that are really, really in support of it and some that need a little more convincing. So you got to do your research. I really like to show the University of Guelph because they do a really good job saying a couple of things. First thing they say is, don't go. We want your tuition. Have you considered going part-time? So that's their first line of defense is maybe you should just go part-time. So maybe that works for you, maybe that doesn't. The next thing they'll do is they'll say this is what you need for your deferral. And you'll notice here that you can defer your admission all the way up until June 2nd. So you actually have some time in order to figure out what that's going to look like, right? So we got lots of time to figure that out. And oh, sorry, I lied. It's down here. July 31st. Thank you. That was like June 2nd is too early. July 31st. So you've got half the summer in most schools' cases to apply for that deferral. So you don't need to make that decision the second you get your acceptance. You can wait and figure that out later on. I also like their website because it mentions that you need to look into deferring your residence and your scholarships. So if you received first year residence, if you receive scholarships from the university for your first year, make sure you get in touch with those departments and see if you can defer those as well. Universities often don't talk that well between departments. So making sure that you're lining yourself up for those things is very, very important. Now, on the note of scholarships, some scholarships have written in the fine print, you must be a grade 12 student going directly into post-secondary. So if you are relying heavily on scholarships for your post-secondary studies, please check the fine print. We don't want you taking a gap year to actually wipe out your possibility of getting those scholarships. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So those are things to consider when looking at the deferral option. So that is from the University of Guelph. Perfect. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Let's see, what other good information do I have for you? Okay, so sometimes you as an individual can think and feel some sort of way about your gap year. But let me tell you, looking forwards, it feels very, very daunting. And it feels like everybody is this white dog soaring on to the next stage in their lives. And you are the poor little brown dog stuck behind, being trapped, falling behind. And we already talked about this 100%. You are not. You're not falling behind. You are actually going to be better off in the long run for being pushed that intentional pause there. Let me actually tell you that I have been doing this for almost 20 years now. And these exact words come up in almost every conversation with a gap year alum that I have ever had. Best decision ever. And I get pulled aside at conferences by people who are 20 years old, 30 years old, 50 years old, 70 years old, and they all say the same thing, that this was really such a pivotal time in their life where they learned so much about themselves. They learned so much about the world, and it set their life in a direction that they maybe weren't anticipating. And it was always in a positive light, which was really, really, it's been so interesting over the years to hear this again and again and again, that looking forward, it feels really, really, really daunting because you're bucking the trend. You're doing something different than your peers. And it can feel really, really wild to be doing something and really scary. But I can tell you, looking backwards, looking back at your gap time, I've been doing this for 15 years. I had one person tell me that they felt that their gap time was a waste of time. Just one person, which is pretty unbelievable. And when he told me that he found it was a waste of time, I said, well, what did you do? What did you do during your gap time that you found it was a waste of time? And he said, I just worked. I didn't do anything in the evenings. I just worked. Um, and I thought that was really interesting. He had such a his bank account was in a better state at the end of his gap time, but he didn't have that opportunity to grow and learn more about himself because he just kind of kept his summer job for another 12 months, and that was all. So you do have to be intentional in order to achieve all these things. You do have to put some plans in place. You do have to be able to move yourself forward in some way, but with a little bit of planning, 100% you can get all of these things for sure happening for you. Awesome. Okay. So, what are your next steps? Let's take a little look-see here at what you can do. So, we're going to be talking about with a bunch of gap year providers. I see them all kind of trickling in now. Hey, Maddie, Andrew, and all the other folks that have come in. Good to see you. So, what are your next steps? After the session today, you're going to receive an email. That email is going to have links to different resources that we've talked about. It's going to have links to all of the folks that are going to be talking to you in the next little bit. It is going to have all sorts of goodies in there for you. So that's a really great place to start. I had mentioned that you can book a call with us. If you have questions that are not going to get answered today, by all means, those one-on-ones are free. We work our butt off to get funding to be able to do that. So we are not the barrier to your success. We want to be the support for you. One thing that I did not mention is that we do have a free year-long program called Gap Year GPS. This is an accountability program where you get paired with a gap year coach and you meet with them on a monthly basis to check in. How you doing? What questions do you have? Where are you at? How are you changing? What support do you need? You also get put into an online community of other people who are on a gap year, which is really, really fun because sometimes all your friends are going off to school and you maybe need like some new friends, somebody who's going through something similar to you. So that's a really, really great benefit from it. We also provide you with different themes each month to get you to just explore different topics that you might not have normally done. So things like goal setting, because I'm all about the goal setting, but also personal identity. Who am I? What's important to me? What are my values? Career exploration, financial literacy, all of these topics that we're going to help you make that transition from adolescence into early adulthood. We really want to be there to help and support you. Um, and we've got a couple of minutes for questions before we bring in our folks here. So I see Brett has a question for the youth mobility visa or working holiday visa. Do I need Canadian citizenship? How about PR holders? So, you need to check the website to be sure. If you do have another citizenship, your home country might also have youth mobility visas that you can apply through that citizenship as well. So all of the countries listed on that website, it's a reciprocal agreement. So it goes both ways. So let's say you were of Croatian descent and you had Croatian citizenship, you could apply from your Croatian identity, I guess we'll call it, and apply to work somewhere through that. If the particular country you're looking at doesn't accept the PR status. So you kind of have to do a little bit of research to make sure that you are going to be eligible. But again, just a simple check on the website and worst case scenario, a call to the embassy that will be there and available for you. Great question, Brett. Any other questions coming up? Or have I just done such a fabulous job? I've answered all of your questions. Either that or I've put you to sleep. And I hope it's not that one. This is your chance. Ask your questions. Wow, I got a thumbs up for answering all your questions. That's great. All right. Well, we will. Awesome. Thanks, Timothy. Love it. Try to keep it simple. Amazing. All right. So it is 4 o'clock, and we have some pretty amazing folks here joining us this afternoon. So, as I mentioned at the beginning, if you came a little bit late, you might have missed it. What we're going to do, and I'll answer that question in the chat in a second. So, what we're going to do is we are actually, let me just change this. Woo! I went. There we go. That's better. So we're going to, for the next half an hour, each of these organizations is going to come and share a little bit about their organization, about who might want to participate in their programs. So each organization is going to have about 5 minutes. At 4:30, thereabouts, we're going to break out into breakout rooms, and you will have the ability to choose which breakout rooms to go to. You can go to multiple ones, obviously one at a time, but you can then have a conversation with the representative to ask any additional questions, to get more clarification, to get on their email list. Whatever questions you have, I really recommend that you do have those conversations, even if you're just a little bit curious, or you've got a friend that might be curious about that particular opportunity. There are so many awesome things that you could potentially learn in those conversations. So I encourage you to stick around after at 4:30 and join those breakout rooms because we've got some really amazing stuff. Okay. So I'm going to start with, we'll do Maddie from Dragons first, and then we'll do Maddie from EF second, and then I will call upon the rest of you as we see fit here. So Maddie, I'm going to stop spotlighting myself, and I am going to spotlight you. So go for it. Take it away.
Great. I'll just share my screen here. All right, well, I'm so excited I get to go first and chat with you all today. So yeah, my name is Maddie, and I'm here with an organization called Where There Be Dragons. And we have immersive travel programs across a whole bunch of countries in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. So I'm not going to be able to talk about the specifics of all of those programs right now, but I would be so excited to get in that breakout room with you later and share some of the specifics about the places we go. And I think the most important thing to know about our programs is that we are all about deep cultural immersion. I think that's really embodied in our name, Where There Be Dragons. And this comes from hundreds of years ago when cartographers were drawing maps of the world. They would draw dragons to represent parts of the map where they just didn't know what to put there because they weren't sure what was actually there. And of course, those places were well known to the people that lived there, but they weren't well known to the map makers. And I think all of us have parts of the world in our own minds that are less familiar. And what I really love about our name too is I think it also is this cool metaphor for saying, like, when we travel and we go to places that are less familiar, we're also able to get in touch with parts of ourself that might be less familiar too. So we just want students to have really transformational travel experiences that come from getting really, really deep into the cultures in the places where we're traveling. Um, and so some of the ways we do this, we're trying to get a little bit off the beaten track. We go into more rural and rugged areas where you're able to see a little bit more about everyday life in these places rather than, some of the tourist hotspots. And we're trying to really create meaningful experiences. Basically, we have this incredible network of relationships around the world with homestay communities, with artists and artisans, with guest speakers, with activists. And we're like bringing you into our network of relationships so that you can also connect with these folks and learn from them and with them. So trying to be really meaningful and intentional about how we do all of that. And then we're also thinking a lot about what it means to travel, what it means to travel responsibly, ethically, well. So hopefully you're also learning skills on our courses. Sometimes as direct as like learning a language or something like that, but also that you're learning these very nuanced travel skills that you could bring into your own travels for the rest of your life, or the rest of your gap year too. So just some big overview things that are important to know. So we have gap year semesters, obviously. Most of them are 3 months in the fall or the spring. And then we also have a few shorter semesters. We're trying that for the first time this year. So we have 3 that are either 5 or 6 weeks. So there's a little bit more flexibility in how you're planning your gap year if something shorter might be a better fit. And then we also have 2 to 6 week summer programs that are for students in all high school grades, but that does include gap year students as well. So sometimes it can be a great way to start off a gap year with a summer program too. So I wouldn't limit yourself to the gap semesters if you're trying to be flexible in how you're planning. And here are all the places that we travel. So I'll just let you take a look for a second. And then, like I said, I'm more than happy to answer more detailed questions about any of these courses in the breakout rooms later, because we go to a lot of different places and all of our courses are really, really different. Um, and then who are the students who travel with us? This is a group of students in Cambodia. But our students are folks who are just really curious about the world. We're not expecting that students are coming in with a lot of travel experience or a lot of language experience or a lot of hiking experience or anything like that. If you are just excited about the world, if you have an open mind and a lot of curiosity and you are just looking for something transformative, whatever that might mean to you, then probably we could be a good fit for you. And probably we can support you with the rest of it. So that's what we're really looking for. Some other fun facts and figures. We travel in really small groups. This is kind of part of our, being really intentional about how we travel. So it's just 12 students with 3 instructors. I'm an instructor in China myself. So you're with peers from mostly all over the United States, but we also have students coming from the Netherlands, China, Canada, as well. And and then you'll be traveling with 3 amazing instructors from the country where you're traveling, as well as from the United States usually too. And we hope this can be a really supportive group for your experience. I know I need to wrap up in just 1 second here, but I just also wanted to show you our 9 program components. So when we're trying to travel we're trying to have these deep culturally immersive experiences. These are some of the ways that we do that. Through more rugged travel on all of our courses, you're doing homestays, living with families, sometimes studying language and trekking. And we also have some really cool academic themes that guide some of our courses as well. So I think I'll leave it there for now, but I'm so excited to chat with you in more detail in the breakout room soon.
Unmute yourself, Michelle. Awesome. Thank you, Maddie. Super helpful. There was a question in the chat if everyone can talk about their ability to support our queer travelers, so our trans and LGBTQ youth. So if Maddie, if you can just make a quick little addition to yours, and if everyone else can make sure that we talk to that as well.
Yeah, I can actually drop a web page that we have about that into the chat box too. I'm LGBT myself, so this is something that's very personal to me. Dragons as an organization is super welcoming and inclusive of LGBT students. And we also travel to a lot of countries that have a whole range of perspectives and opinions and levels of safety related to that. So I'll drop a web page, and I'm also happy to chat more about specific courses and how we manage that in the different areas that we go to.
Awesome. Thanks, Maddie. Yeah, and if you do have other questions about travel in general, for the LGBTQ members there's some really great resources. We do talk about it in our travel workshop, especially the one on safety, to make sure that everybody is safe no matter where not no matter where they are, that they make good choices about where they go, in order to make sure that they are protecting their safety. And the organizations that are out there are so fantastic. But make sure you're asking those questions as you go. And I'll pop another resource in the chat as we go. So Maddie from EF is going to be next, followed by Zoya. And Amanda, if you are the Amanda from Away to Work, can you just send me a DM? I'm not sure if you're here or not. So I'm going to pass it over to Maddie.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Maddie, and I'm here, another Maddie, from EF Summer Adventures. And I'm a program consultant here. So this means that I'm here to help you find a program that best aligns with your interests and your goals for the future. So here at EF Summer Adventures, we are an experiential learning program that are rooted in different educational themes, such as service learning, language and cultural immersion, micro-credentials, and and subject-specific explorations in STEM, fashion, business, and leadership. Can I spotlight myself here? Let's see. I don't think I can, but we'll see about that. So really our hope here at EF Summer Adventures is to find a program that speaks to you and that will serve you for whatever comes after your gap year experience. So whether that be post-secondary school or job applications. So we have nine different perfect. We have nine different programs that all have a different kind of educational theme. And we categorize these into buckets. So the first is our service learning tours, and they take place in Thailand, which also has a focus on leadership development, as well as Peru, which focuses on environmental sustainability. We have language and culture immersion programs in France and Spain. And what's really cool about these tours is that the group will take language lessons at the EF International Language Campus in Paris and Barcelona. And then we have our subject-specific focus tours. So we have fashion studies in Paris. So if anyone has seen Emily in Paris on Netflix, we kind of drew inspiration from the TV show to incorporate that into our curriculum. And then we have STEM exploration in South Korea and Japan. And we have history and leadership in Berlin. And so the group will actually participate in EF's Global Leadership Conference. And this year's theme is future readiness in an ever-changing world. So we hope that you'll be able to explore life skills, education, and career planning that will equip you for kind of whatever comes next in your journey. And then lastly, we have our entrepreneurship and ingenuity in the UK tour. So this is more business focused. And our last bucket is our micro credential. So EF has a very special partnership with the Nobel Prize Museum in Sweden, and we collaborate to offer a global citizen certificate for students on our, or any youth on our global citizen program that goes to Italy and Switzerland. And I was able to join this tour as a program consultant last summer, and it was amazing to see our students work towards this certificate. I can speak a little bit more to it just for timing's sake in our breakout room, but it's focused on the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. And so I kind of shared, the tangible things that our tours give in an educational aspect. But there are so many other goals that we have for you on our tour. And so we hope that you'll gain, personal growth through independence and confidence. And then also take away other things that aren't just educationally focused, such as friendships. So last year on the tour, there were actually two boys, Logan and Tristan. They were from opposite parts of Ontario. They made a lifelong friendship in the 10 days that they were on tour. And, it was really special to see. They had lots in common, and were able to share that across the world together. So I will drop a link into the chat. We actually have an Instagram reel of them, and that was a really sweet friendship to see. And then lastly, our programs take place 10 days to 3 weeks in the summer months, which also means that you can have some flexibility if you have other plans throughout the year, that you can do this program before maybe you start post-secondary school or a longer term job. So overall, we hope that our tours are really a stepping stone for our travelers who maybe haven't had independent travel experiences yet. And we are here to support. So from all the travel details, including flights and on-the-ground transportation, all the activities that you will do through our programs on a tour. And then as well, you will be chaperoned by teachers from across Canada who are there to support you in this new travel journey, and a tour director who manages all the logistical elements. They speak the language, they understand the culture, so they're there to support you too. Which brings me just to touch on any LGBTQ plus youth that are interested in joining our tours. Here's a program consultant. We can speak to you individually about your needs or specific destinations that you are interested in. Any accommodations, how you would feel safe on tour, and we can pass this along to the teachers and tour director that will be with you in the destination. So thank you everyone for your time. And if there are any questions, you can write them here in the chat or in a breakout room shortly.
Amazing. Thanks, Maddie. So we're gonna go to Zoya, then Andrew, and then Amanda. So that's our lineup here. So I'm gonna pass it over to Zoya, and I will spotlight you in a second.
Can you can you hear me? Thank you. Let me see if I can share our website here. Okay. Can you see that? Okay, so thank you. My name is Zoya. I am with Go International. So we are a work and travel provider. We're also a designated recognized organization with IEC program, which is International Experience Canada, working with youth 18 to 35, primarily with the youth mobility visa, which is work and travel abroad. We've been around since 1984, and we promote the program to connect youth with opportunities to build personal growth and independence, develop life skills, promote cultural exchange and global perspective, as well as creating like career interests down the track. By working abroad, there's so many things that you learn about yourself and learn about the world. So, as well as creating like lifelong memories. We work with partners abroad that are vetted to make sure programs are safe as well as welcoming and supporting for everybody. So, kind of like how it works is that we support youth here in Canada in terms of preparing to travel, finding out what programs they're interested in, or what country that we have a program in that would be a good fit for them. We help plan as well as prepare the visa process. And then we have partners abroad that will deliver the programming and support on the ground when participants arrive. Um, and then yeah, give all the support and the connecting before they arrive for like some programs we have job placement as well as accommodation. So I can just show you a little bit here on our website some of the programs that we do offer the countries. So for example, Australia, we've got Costa Rica, France, Germany. UK is a very popular one where we offer work and travel in like hotels and pubs. Job placements are done prior to participants leaving. We assist with the visa process here, and then our partner in the UK will arrange the interviews, job placement, accommodation. That just gives you kind of like a high level kind of like idea of what we do and who we are. We also offer volunteer programs in Canada for participants, youth that don't want to travel abroad. So we're a partner of Parks Canada and Lake Louise Resort. They offer conservation and leadership programs. And so what we do is we help recruit volunteers to participate in those programs. And we do have quite a few Canadian youth who are not ready to make that jump abroad, but will do a 4 week stint over the summer holidays in Banff or Lake Louise and participate in one of the programs there. So that will give you kind of like a high level kind of like overview of who we are and what we do. What I'll do, I'll just put in the chat, I'll put our link to our website and my contact information, and then any other specific questions or information you need, we can chat in the breakout room.
Amazing. Thank you. All right. Next we have Andrew. Andrew, you're up.
Can you hear me? Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Master Sailor Andrew Corbin with the Royal Canadian Navy. A little bit about me before we begin. Like I say, I'm in the Royal Canadian Navy. I'm a marine technician. I've been doing the job for quite some time. Certified gas turbine maintainer and a helo crash rescue firefighter. A few things I'd like to talk about today. A number of good opportunities that the forces can provide potential candidates are paid education programs. We have our regular officer training program, which will allow those on a gap year, if they want to continue their education towards a career in the forces, we can set you up with education from the Royal Canadian Military College for a career in the forces. The good thing about that is you'll get paid while going to school. You'll have no student debt and a career waiting for you at the end of it. So it's a good opportunity to go that way if you like. Another opportunity we have is the NCM STEP program, the non-commissioned members subsidized training and education program. Works very similar to that of the ROTP program. However, it's more for technical trades. So we can send you to several technical colleges across the country um, while earning a wage, all towards a career in the forces. Um, but the real thing I would like to talk about today is the Naval Experience Program. It's kind of lined up for the gap year. And like the name would dictate, it is a year in the Navy. It gives you the whole experience, fully paid, and at the end of it, there's no obligation to continue if you don't want to. But the good thing about it is you get a taste of life at sea and alongside with a ship in the Navy. You'll be working either in Halifax, Nova Scotia, or Esquimalt, BC, as you'd imagine on the coast. So we try to accommodate, if you have a choice, which coast you'd like to go to. We try to accommodate that. So if you're a West Coaster, we'll try to keep you at home, and same for the East Coast. So the idea with that is you get the job shadow all departments on a ship, see what you like, see what you don't like. And like I said, if you want to continue, you got 1 foot through the door. In that year, you will complete basic training and your environmental training. So you'll have all that done. And at the end of the year, if you like it, great. You can continue on. If not, no harm, no foul. At least you have the experience. So I could post a link to our website, which talks more about that if you like. But yeah, I'd be happy to answer any questions regarding what I just talked about in the breakout room. And yeah, thanks for having me, and look forward to talking to everybody.
Awesome. Thank you so much. If I was going to do a gap year now, I would come and join you. I think it's such an incredible opportunity. Amazing. And then Amanda, I believe you're our last one. If I missed anybody, please send me a DM and I will make sure that I tee you up. But I think everybody on the RSVP list has already made it in. So, Amanda, take it away.
Perfect. Can you hear me okay? Awesome. Okay, so I'm Amanda. I work for A Way to Work International Rural Exchange Canada, and we facilitate international work opportunities for Canadians who want to go abroad. So, as you guys probably talked about a little bit earlier, you're talking about the youth mobility agreements. We are a recognized organization underneath International Experience Canada, so we facilitate all these opportunities underneath that agreement. We're also a nonprofit, and this year's our 40th anniversary. So, we've been doing this for a long time. We were founded on agriculture, so we do a lot of farming abroad programs. We work with our international partners all over the world through these youth mobility agreements. And up until recently, we had been only lining up the jobs. They would come with accommodations, their paid placements. A lot of people use them for like education requirements, but we help navigate the entire process from finding the job, landing the visa. I can help provide some guidance on scheduling flights, but I'm not a travel agent, so I can't actually book them for you. And then we help with all the things that are required. So there's formalities like bank accounts, tax information, and what to expect when you're arriving. Because we are recognized underneath the government, we do meet with them quite frequently to discuss any concerns that we have about safety traveling abroad. So for the LGBTQ plus community, we have had many participants who are identifying as part of the community, and we want to make sure that your travels are going to be safe, you're going to be safe, and that you're respected and that you enjoy your time abroad, because it is a life-changing opportunity. It is the one thing that is priceless in life and that you can never get enough of. It helps make you a better person and really opens up your perspective on the world. But yeah, our heavy hitters are usually like New Zealand and Australia, just because our winters are very cold here. And in January, it's like 40 degrees in Australia. So I can understand why that's a heavy hitter. So we usually start off with like an initial meeting. So you get to sit and chat one-on-one with me, and I walk you through the entire, obligations, expectations, and requirements for each country. But I'll put the link to the website in the chat, as well as my direct email. If you have any questions, you can always email me, and I'm happy to help.
Amazing. Did I not tell you these people are amazing? And there are so many different things that you could possibly do on your gap year. It is just so much fun. And really, I think I live vicariously through all of the people that I work with because they get to discover all of these incredible opportunities and participate in some really cool programs. And so no matter what you're doing, what you're thinking, there's something out there for you to join in with and to figure out how to do it. So we are going to be kind of, as soon as you're finished asking all of your questions, you're going to be free to head out. So this will kind of be our little wrap up chat here, and then I will open up the breakout rooms for you. So first of all, I want to thank you for spending your time with us this afternoon. It was just such a joy to share my passion and my knowledge with all of you and to help you feel a little bit more comfortable with the pathway moving forward. So lots of really great opportunities out there. Like I said, we do have those free 30-minute conversations. So if you do have questions that can't get answered today, by all means, book those conversations with our team. We will be sending out that follow-up email with links to all of these different programs, links to the GPS program, links to the recording of this session. All of that will be in that follow-up email coming out later this evening or afternoon, depending on what time zone you're in. But just really grateful that you are all here to learn and chat. So I will stick around in the main room. So if you have general questions, you can always come back here and I will answer those for you. And I will open up the breakout rooms. You'll be able to self-select. So to our presenters, please select your own organization, and then folks will meet you in there. So for everyone, thanks for coming. Those breakout rooms will be open and I will stick around in the main room and I'm going to be also stopping the recording.